Splatoon 3 contains more modes, weapons, and things to do than you can shake a Splat Roller at. To help get you started, here are 17 tips to know before ink diving into Splatoon 3's multiplayer. Use those first few Turf Wars matches to test out the sensitivity of either motion controls or your sticks. If you find that your attacks are consistently missing strafing targets, be sure to tweak the sensitivity until you're better able to swivel around and hit other players. Don't neglect laying down ink in your spawn area. Many Splatoon fans are often divided on when the best time to do this is, either right at the start or after you've been splatted once or twice, but you definitely don't want to wait until the last second to cover your starting area. It is free real estate after all. Turf Wars counts all of the ink on the floor only. Walls do not count for the total, so don't waste time painting the walls except in areas you need to climb up quickly to advance or get around opponents. Also, don't get too focused on simply inking your opponents. While this can slow their advance and help you establish control, you can still end up losing if you don't ink the terrain you're advancing through. When you respawn at your team starting area, you'll have the opportunity to perform a super jump to teammates on the playing field by looking at the map. Use this method to quickly move back into the field and support your team, but pay attention to the real-time updates on the ink around their position. If they appear to be taking heavy fire, you may end up landing right in the crosshairs of the other team and lose precious time by getting splatted. Try jumping to teammates who have plenty of your team's ink around them, or who are grouped up. Certain weapon specials like the bubbler also create a super jump spot independent of your team, allowing you to create some forward momentum to take back some enemy territory. The Splat Roller is an alluring weapon for beginners since you can literally steamroll the opposition, but that's not all they're good for. Experienced opponents will simply retreat, so remember to sling your roller's ink at people too. Jumping before you toss ink will also send it further, but in a vertical line. Spend some time testing out weapons. Each weapon has its own spread and may deal more or less damage at a certain distance. Some time at the firing range, found either in the lobby between matches or by testing out a weapon in the shop, gives you the opportunity to explore new playstyles or refine what you already prefer, without having to test that out against a real enemy player. It's a good idea to aim high, but maybe don't literally fire up in the air. That said, no matter what type of weapon you use, firing your weapon creates an ink trail along the ground below your shot. This means you shouldn't focus on aiming at the ground. Fire outward while looking straight ahead, and the ink will naturally fall along the path you're shooting. This will also ensure your shots travel farther, and you'll be able to spot opponents easier when not looking at the floor. This is especially true when using weapons like the Splat Charger or Splatter Scope. If you find that you really gravitate toward one type of weapon, or if you're eager to unlock a specific weapon, you can turn in 3 Sheldon licenses, the currency obtained simply by leveling up your character or leveling up a weapon, to exchange for a new weapon regardless of its level requirement. 1 gold Sheldon license, 3 of which can be obtained if you bring over your Splatoon 2 save data, can be exchanged for a new weapon regardless of its level requirement too. Once you reach level 10, or earlier if you bring over your Splatoon 2 save data, you can participate in new game modes called Anarchy Battles. Here's a quick overview of each. The Splat Zones mode is like Turf Wars, except the only turf that matters is the small area contained within the specified zone. Think of this like a King of the Hill mode. Ink the zone to take control. Keep control of the zone until the timer runs down. Some levels have 2 zones, and you'll need to control both at the same time to begin the progress timer countdown. Having plenty of ink available is a must for this mode. Consider focusing on abilities such as Ink Saver Main, Ink Saver Sub, and Quick Refill to help you keep the ink flowing. Ink mines do not damage opponents as much as other bombs in the game, but they are effective when placed inside the splat zone. If an enemy gets close, or even if enemy ink touches them, they explode. It's a good defense option that can help buy your zone some extra time, and you can place up to 2 ink mines at a time. In tower control, there's a tower at the center stage. Climbing onto it causes it to move forward along a track which leads to the goal. The goal, however, is on the opposing team's side of the map. The top of the tower has very little room, but you can still use the pole in the center to help shield you slightly from incoming shots. The Big Bubbler is very effective in this mode. Place the Big Bubbler on the tower and you'll now have a moving shield. In the Rainmaker mode, each team vies to control the Rainmaker, which is a heavy weapon that shoots large, explosive globs of ink. The shield surrounding the Rainmaker will explode only after receiving a large amount of damage from one of the two teams. Avoid the shield as it expands. Even if it's covered in your team's ink, it'll hurt you if you touch it. The shield's explosion, however, will not damage you if your team is the one to break the shield. When playing this mode, you'll want to gear up depending on whether you want to focus on carrying the Rainmaker or on supporting your teammate who does. If you plan on carrying the Rainmaker, consider gearing up with swim speed up, run speed up, and ink resistance abilities. In Clam Blitz, the objective is to pick up clams scattered around the stage. Once a player has collected 8 clams, they'll turn into a large football. The football must be taken to the opposing team's base and then thrown into their basket. The team that scores the most clams wins. Only footballs can destroy the shield covering the basket. With the basket open, the regular clams can be thrown into it for extra points. Clams can be shared with your teammates by pressing the A button or left shoulder button. The football can be thrown anytime. You can toss the football further ahead of you or toward another teammate. If a player holding the football is splatted, the rest of the team has a few seconds to pick it back up. If not, the football disappears, so try to be quick. If every player on a team is wiped out, they immediately receive a football next to their basket. Making a return from Splatoon 2, Salmon Run is Splatoon 3's cooperative horde mode. Here are some tips to stay fresh. A lot can happen in Salmon Run, and it's easy to lose sight of what's important. Focus on getting your quota of golden eggs first, and then prioritize keeping your team alive by reviving fallen allies, and then on killing bosses to get even more eggs. Use the downtime between waves to quickly paint as much ground as you can. You won't have that much time during a wave to create pathways, so the more ground that's already been inked, the better. Splatoon 3's Salmon Run has a new feature that allows you to toss the golden egg you carry ahead of you like a grenade, but this will require a good amount of ink. You can use this to shave off precious seconds by lobbing it into the egg container, or even toss it toward teammates closer to the container if you're cut off. But you'll be low on ink afterwards, so be careful. One of the new boss Salmonids, the Big Shot, will use a cannon to fire shockwave blasts toward the center of the arena. Once defeated, you can place golden eggs in the cannon to blast them back toward the egg container, which can speed up the retrieval process. Just don't forget to have someone bring them the rest of the way. Between matches, a large outline of a giant Salmonid will slowly fill up the side of your screen. When it's full, there's a chance you and your team will face a King Salmonid upon completing all 3 waves successfully. At this point, your priority is no longer collecting golden eggs, but defeating the kaiju. And you can defeat the other boss Salmonids it summons, and use the resulting golden eggs as ammo to wound the King Salmonid. Use your main weapons, sub-weapons, and golden eggs to deal as much damage as you can to earn extra rewards. Just watch out for its huge area of effect attacks. So there you have it, 17 tips to get you started in Splatoon 3's multiplayer. Just be sure to not over-incubate any golden eggs. This is only a small selection of our top tips to help you get started, but for more, be sure to check out our written tips guide. For more on Splatoon 3, check out our single player and multiplayer reviews, and be sure to check out the full Splatoon 3 wiki over on IGN.com.